A-Day is going to be here before we know it, and you may be wondering, what should I honestly expect to see from this spring game? Let's talk about it. Before I talk about my top 5 look-fors this A-Day, let's take a moment just to look at how we got to this point. The 2020 season left a lot of Auburn fans with a bad taste in their mouth. We lost to both of our rivals away from home again. Our coach was fired, and we lost yet another bowl game. After such a defeating season, many Auburn fans are just thinking, let's move on from Gus, let's move on from last year, let's move on from the past, and let's look forward to the Harsin era. And with that in mind, this offseason, we've already seen a ton of hype, like this.
Here we go, baby. Want to know?
And this. And this. And honestly, I love all this hype. I love that we're excited about this season. We're excited about Harsin and everything he's doing. But I really don't want us to set our standards so high that we're going to be disappointed with anything less than a national championship. That's just not realistic, and it's not fair to Coach Harsin and his staff. So we do need to have some realistic expectations going into this season. I mean, guys, let's be honest. We only won 6 games last season. But honestly, I know that's not what this video is about. I really wanted to do a breakdown of what I expect to see at this year's spring game. And so I want to give you my top 5 look-fors, what I'm looking for. I'm going to be at the spring game at A-Day. And these are some things that I'm going to be looking for while I'm there watching the game. The first thing I'm looking for is some improvement with Bo Nix. I know this is his first game, kind of. Even though it's A-Day. This is his first game with Harsin under this new style, and I do expect to see some improvement. So the things I'm going to be looking for the most with Bo Nix and anything he's improved on this offseason, one, I expect him to stay in the pocket. I know this is a bad habit he's formed, just running out of that pocket too early, but I do expect to see some improvement, and we should all expect to see that, because if we haven't made it already, just some improvement, then how is he going to show that he's gotten better with this when it's not our own team? So I do expect immediately to see some improvement with him staying in the pocket. The other thing I'm looking for with Bo Nix is some improvement with his passing accuracy. I'm hoping I see a lot fewer overthrown passes. I'm hoping he's not throwing behind players as much, and I think we will see that some in this spring game. The question is, how much? And guys, even if you don't like Bo, you need to accept that he's going to be the starter. At least these first 3 or 4 games, he is going to be the guy. He's going to be starting. We'll know a lot more after the Penn State game, but for sure those first 3 or 4 games, he will be the starter, and so we should want him to improve any way he can, so we do need to support him. Number 2 thing I'm looking for is for some lesser known receivers to stand out. If you watch my previous video on Javarius Johnson, you can go ahead and click right up there and see that video if you've not already. You know that I do have some expectations from our lesser known wide receivers. I think they have a chance to stand out. I mean, we lost our 3 starters from last year, so there is a huge opportunity for some of these guys to get a starting position, and I think they know that. So yes, I think we'll see Capers. Yes, I think we'll see Kenyon. I think the bigger question mark is who's going to be our 3rd guy, and I think that's going to be Javarius Johnson, but there's also some other players out there that we may see start that are going to have an opportunity. And I think during the spring game, the thing to look for is who are those wide receivers going to be, who are the guys who are making some big plays, because this is going to be a golden opportunity for them to stand out in front of the coaches and possibly more importantly in front of the fans. I mean, look at this grainy footage we've already seen of Javarius Johnson beating Smoke Monday. Next, I'm looking for our running backs to absolutely just show out. I'm looking for Tank to just be in absolute beast mode. I'm looking for him to just run through some guys, bust some big plays for some big yardage, and above him, I'm looking for some of those number 2, number 3 backs, which more than likely will be Sean Shivers. If you haven't seen him, oh my gosh, you need to check out the video, and I'll try to clip it in here, that Auburn put out of him just busting through a player and knocking him over. It's super impressive. And then past that, what is Barrett going to look like? Next, I'm going to be looking to see if anybody can really lock down that number 2 and number 3 spot at quarterback for Auburn. Like I told you, Bo Nix is going to be the starter, but who's going to be our number 2 guy and who is going to be number 3? More than likely, Demetrius Davis is going to be our number 2 guy. I think the more interesting race is for that number 3 spot. For Davis, it's going to be interesting to see if he can really overcome his height while he's playing at the collegiate level, and I think we'll get to see some of that at the spring game. Sure, it's not going to be the same as playing in an SEC game in the fall, but I think we will be able to see what he can do versus some SEC talent, even though it's our own team. And I think I've made plenty of videos on who's going to be the number 3 quarterback, and there's honestly a lot of question marks. I don't know for sure who's going to get it, but I think there are some very interesting possibilities. Could it be Garnett? Maybe. Could it be Jeff Lindsey? Possibly. Grant Loy's got some college experience, but then you've got Sawyer Pate back there who did well in high school, but how well does that translate to college? I think it's really wide open at that number 3 spot, and we're just going to have to see what happens, who gets some playing time, and that's what I want to see, is who do we actually see on the field for that number 3 spot. And finally, the number 5 thing I'm going to be looking for is, have our wide receivers learned how to run routes? Ever since that information came out from Seth Williams about how Auburn didn't really prepare him to run routes as a receiver, that's become a top priority, something I want to look for. Is Harsin and Mike Bobo, are they already preparing our receivers to run routes more so that, 1, they're ready for college, but 2, they're ready for a career possibly after college in the NFL? So are we going to see some evidence already that they are practicing those routes and they are prepping them? All right, so I know I only focused on offense in this breakdown, but from my standpoint, that's where we've got the biggest question marks, especially compared to last season. So that's where I want to see the biggest improvements from us for this upcoming season and in the spring game. Our defense is probably still going to look great. We're not perfect, but I still think we're going to look pretty good for this upcoming season. Our offense, on the other hand, we've got some room to improve. Anyway, these are the top 5 things I'm looking for this A-Day. If there's something else you're going to be looking for, let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know if you're going to be at the actual game. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.